Hello everybody, here we are today doing our season preview for the Florida Panthers, talking about whether or not the Cats can go back to back. So before we get started with it, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or hockey, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get on into it. So last season, the Florida Panthers finished with 110 points and did what was seemingly the unthinkable not that long ago, and that was win their first championship as they were able to claim Lord Stanley after years of being in the gutter of the NHL. And this is a great look for a team that looked like they might go on to lose the series after being up 3-0, but they won in Game 7, and it was a fun team to watch. Guys that had been there for a long time, guys that were brought over, that were able to produce at the best stage of their career, guys that were just really able to buy in, and things were good for this team for multiple seasons in a row, which culminated, of course, into a championship now after an offseason of a lot of partying, I'm sure, as well as hopefully a little bit of relaxation. This team is going to be setting their sights on trying to claim a second championship, and they're going to be doing so with 31 other teams trying to knock them off their throne. It's going to be hard to do if the Panthers want to try to win a second straight title, but it is something that is doable like we've seen before. So with that being said, what exactly are some storylines for this team for this season? So the first storyline is talking about whether or not the offseason losses will sting. Florida, like every championship team, did lose some pieces, and it's kind of interesting to see how they kind of all dispersed. These are three players that I can think of off the top of my head as I was doing notes. I remember these. You had Brandon Montour, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, and then Vladimir Tarasenko. Montour, of course, leaves to go to Seattle on a 7-year deal. Then you've got Oliver Ekman-Larsson going up to Toronto, and then Tarasenko going to Detroit. So a couple of guys going to division rivals. Not exactly something you're thrilled about, and I do think these losses could be a little bit of a problem for the team, especially looking at the blue line. You've got Montour, that is a minute-eating defenseman that is now gone, as well as Oliver Ekman-Larsson, OEL, a guy that might not have been viewed as a player that he used to be, but had a 30-something point year and good underlying numbers. He is a player that I do think will actually be kind of missed more than people expect. And then Tarasenko, even though he was viewed as a rental, is now gone off to a team that is really trying to get in the way of teams like Florida at the moment. So going to be hard to see exactly how things play out for this team. But I do think if you look at the side on paper compared to what we saw at the start of the playoffs when they were able to go on their run to the Cup, this team is worse. So you're going to be trying to see if they can produce another quality year, a fourth straight season of a good high-end quality year, and that is exactly what we're going to watch out for and see if they can actually go up there and do it. I do think it is a little bit scary for this team because of the fact these guys are gone. You have to see if they're going to be able to step up and have some new guys produce, and I am just very, very curious and cautious to see if the Panthers are that side that won the President's Trophy, winning division titles, and then of course claiming a championship. So the second storyline is talking about whether or not a player can help out this weekend blue line. Obviously with OEL gone and Montour gone, this blue line is going to be looking a little bit different, but I think there is somebody kind of hiding out there that could be a good addition for this team, and that is Adam Boqvist. And he is a player that was taken with a top 10 pick in the 2018 draft. I think he was taken 8th overall, and he is an interesting guy. So obviously he's played now with 3 teams, or he will play with 3 teams when he plays for Florida. He's previously played with Chicago and then Columbus, 2 sides that are rebuilding that are not very good. And this is where he gets to say, wow, I'm playing for a team that actually has expectations, a team that just won the championship. Maybe this is where I'm actually going to find my place, if you will. And I know people might not be too optimistic about this, but I feel like there are a variety of reasons why I actually think this could work out. A few years ago, he had a season where he averaged over half a point per game as a young defenseman. Pretty incredible there. And then also, I think, followed that up with a season where he had double-digit goal total, where he had 11 goals on the year. This is somebody you know could provide offense to the blue line and is a player that is on a near minimum, league minimum deal. So 1 year where he's making like $775,000 or whatever it is, this is something we can afford to kind of take a little bit of a gamble to see if this works out. And I think in a weird way he's got a little bit less pressure to deal with as well too, as he doesn't have to be seen as one of these young guys, these young prospects to help kind of get the younger teams going in the right direction, where he's more of a guy that will probably be sheltered a little bit on a Florida team where yes, they are trying to win a championship, but he might be more of that supporting cast role. But I am really hopeful that this can actually be a good year for him, where maybe he has a career year and then looks to be set as part of this Florida blue line for the coming years. Don't know if he'll ever be a top pairing guy for them, but if he was able to be a top 4 guy and help them out and provide again some more of that offense, would be a real welcome thing for the Florida Panthers, as they are trying to battle with again some of the financial things that they're dealing with, as they could probably sign into another cheap deal that is more of a short-term solution, as both sides are trying to figure out exactly what they want to do. So the third and final storyline is talking about whether or not the backup situation in net is settled. Obviously we saw Sergei Bobrovsky kind of solidify himself absolutely as a starter in recent years. A Vezina contender, a guy that was a finalist this year that won his first championship with the team. This was a player that played a massive role in their run to the Stanley Cup. He's going to be the starter. Didn't look like that was always going to be the case, as especially the early start with his time with the Panthers, things looked really bad. But instead, he's going to be remembered as one of the most special players in franchise history. At least I think he will. And he is going to be that number one guy. Now you kind of look at the backup situation this season and see if there's going to be a problem. And I do think there is a little bit of a reason to be concerned here, as Anthony Stolarz is now not with the team anymore. I think he's with Toronto as well. So again, Toronto kind of poaching from Florida this offseason. Stolarz had a really good year, had a great goals against average, had a good quality start percentage. This is going to be a player that is going to be missed, and you have to look at who's going to be the number two guy. In this case, it's going to be a former first-round pick for the Panthers, and it's going to be Spencer Knight. Knight is a player that I'm really hoping can be able to get right in his career, because last season he didn't play at all in the NHL because he went into the Players Assistance Program for OCD. I really am hoping that he's able to be kind of where he wants to be mentally off the ice, and it does seem like he is in that spot. But I do think this is going to be a big ask for a guy that played just in the AHL last year, and his numbers were a little bit weird. 905 save percentage, but 5 shutouts. I don't exactly know how this is going to go for him as he jumps back in the NHL, and that's why it kind of concerns me a little bit, because this is just very tough to miss an entire year because of a reason that you can't really control, that you're trying to just kind of get yourself in a spot where you can control your own life, and now joining a team that just won the championship is going to be a big ask for this goalie. But he has shown before that he can be a very good goalie, and I think that the pressure is going to be off of him a little bit now, because we understand Bob's still got a little bit left time on his contract, and he's still viewed as a starter. But I will say, if Knight struggles early on in this year, that's where you start to worry a little bit, is Bob is a little bit older, and you'd probably like to take a little bit of that wear and tear from the grind of the season off of him a little bit, so he could focus more on the playoffs. So I hope that everything goes right here, but I do think right now Bobrovsky could again have to be a workhorse for them, something that he's done for a very long time. And even though he's in his mid-30s, I think he's just going to try to go out there and do it again. So overall, what are my thoughts on the Florida Panthers? Well, Florida is a team that has had 3 really good years, and they've been able to go on to the second round in each of those 3 seasons, so you know they go on and advance every year in the playoffs. They aren't one of those first-round flop sides, and that is good news. And I think that there's still pretty much a clear divide between them and the bottom half of the division. I don't see them falling out of the top 4 in the division. And of course, you really only need to finish top 3 in your division to go on the playoffs. And that is good news for Florida, because I think they should still be able to finish there. Yes, they did lose some pieces, but you've got Barkov, Reinhart, Bobrovsky. Again, a lot of these guys are still here. They still have that kind of attitude and swagger. And I would imagine with Paul Maurice being their head coach, they're not going to lose their confidence. Yes, they might reduce a little bit in the standings in terms of points and returns and all those things, but I do still feel like this is a team that could be very dangerous come playoff time, and that's really what it's all about. They're going to try to go out there and have guys like Matthew Tkachuk lead the way, and I'm not exactly worried at the moment, but I do know there's not really a lot they can do in terms of reinforcements, as they don't have a lot of high-end picks in the coming years to try to negotiate with, and they don't have a lot of financial flexibility. So we'll see if what they've got here is enough to try to go out there and win in the championship and be the 3rd team in the modern era to go out there, in the salary cap era, I should say, to win back-to-back titles, as the Penguins did it in 2016 and 17, and then the Lightning did it in 2020 and then 2021. So maybe another Florida side can go out there and do it again, as it would be, what, 4 championships in 6 years for the state of Florida in the NHL. So anyway, what are your thoughts on Florida for this year? Are they going to be another top-tier team? Are they going to be able to go out and win their division? Are they going to make the playoffs and go on another run? Are they going to actually have a year where maybe they get knocked out in the first round? Let me know all your thoughts down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night. And you go with hockey, all right. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.